welcome to All Things Iceland, the place to learn about Icelandic language, culture, history, and nature. My name is Jules, and I'm excited about today's video because I'm going to be sharing with you some crucial information if you ever plan to visit Iceland, because there are some common mistakes that many visitors that come here make, and you can avoid those. And these are specifically mistakes that will help you to enjoy your time better, also potentially make it so that Icelandic people, at least one of them, will make it so that Icelandic people won't be upset at you. And I think all of that together can just add to your experience, of course. Before we jump in though, make sure that you're subscribed and you hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on videos like this that share really helpful tips. The first common mistake that will definitely make you stick out as a tourist in this country is bringing an umbrella with you to Iceland, or even trying to buy an umbrella in Iceland. Now granted, it's true that it happens to rain a lot. It can rain a lot in summer, it can rain a lot in winter. Of course, it can snow in winter too, but it's pretty common for it to rain a decent amount in this country. However, with the wind, which can be super intense, the rain sometimes ends up going more horizontal in direction rather than coming straight down. So if you have an umbrella, you basically will end up more than likely making it so that your umbrella breaks because of the wind. Like you'll be struggling against the wind to make it stay up. And I've seen plenty of umbrellas and ponchos, those like plastic ponchos, get like puffed up with wind, or an umbrella be inverted and completely broken and useless. So save yourself money there and make sure that you're packing waterproof layers like a raincoat or rain boots, things like that, or at least boots that allow for some water resistance and they don't have to be completely rubber. But just an FYI, you can definitely spot a tourist in Iceland when you see an umbrella. Now, I'm not saying that you can never use an umbrella, but the possibility of it being useless based off of the conditions with the wind and rain here just doesn't make it worth it. And just to add on top of that, I created the ultimate packing checklist so that you can know what to bring, including the different layers that you would need, especially that waterproof layer. So check that out in the description box below in order to get kind of more information there. The second common mistake is that not many visitors realize that they need to strip naked and shower with soap before they go into the swimming pools. And this is one of those things where some Icelanders who get pretty annoyed by this might end up talking to you about it if they see that you skip this part altogether, like you have your bathing suit on after you've changed in the changing room and try to go straight to the pool. Someone might try to pull you aside and say, hey, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you have to take off your bathing suit, shower with soap, naked, then you put your bathing suit on and go into the pool. That is the order of prepping for the pool in order to keep it cleaner. And this is something that Icelanders really take seriously and would appreciate it if people just make it more of an effort to do it or realize that this is a thing. Most of the pools have signs about you needing to shower beforehand. I don't know if all of them are written in English, but this is just an FYI. In one of the larger pools called Laugardalslaug, they have signs in English and I think in other languages too. Also, it's a communal area for showering. So obviously the dressing rooms and the showers are split up for men and women, so they're separate, but in that same area where you'd have to shower, you could see other people who are showering as well. There's no judgment there. Everyone's just at that point needing to shower so they can get their bathing suit on, and it's not about staring at people or any of that stuff. It's just purely about being cleaner before going into the pool, and just make sure you do it. But also in the larger pool, if you don't feel comfortable showering around other people, there are private stalls. Not every pool has that around the country though, so just be aware of that. And you could, just avoid this common mistake and potentially making some Icelandic people annoyed if you make sure you shower before going into the pool. The third common mistake is that most visitors don't check for road closures or for weather alerts before they head out on an adventure. To be fair, a lot of people are just super excited to go like on a glacier or on a trip around the ring road, all of these things. And they might forget that in this country, the nature elements can be extremely intense. I mean, this is definitely a place of contrast. Iceland can be super sunny and beautiful and relatively calm, or the weather can be absolutely horrible and dangerous if you're just, happen to be driving around and there's a really bad windstorm or snowstorm. So it's just always really important to avoid this mistake. And I've said it in some other videos, just because I need to drive this point home. All too often, it happens every year, where there are several tourists or visitors that come to the country and they end up getting stuck. Their car could be blown off the road, like just different types of things that happen because they either didn't realize that the weather was going to be that bad, or they didn't heed the warning that they received. Or it could be annoying where you go out and you think you can drive along a certain road, but it's been closed because of weather. So just avoid that mistake. It saves you time, energy, and it also potentially helps to save other people's lives, because you put your life at risk, yeah, but at the same time, others are going to want to help to rescue you if something happens, and you can avoid putting their lives in danger too if you just make sure to check the weather and road closures. The fourth common mistake is trying to cram in way too many activities into one day or even a short time period. Now, I am completely guilty of this, mainly because in the summertime, especially when we have 24-hour brightness, you're just like, I can do everything. I want to be up. I want to go to this glacier. I want to go to this waterfall. I want to go to this area. It's just like, it feels like everything is available to you. And I've had to, over time, learn to adjust. Granted, to the 24-hour brightness is a totally different thing, but also to manage my own expectations in regards to what I'll be able to get done that day based off of distances. So some people know that Iceland is a small country, relatively, but still you have to drive to get to certain areas, and that drive might take a little bit longer than you figured. And also there's just some roads that are less easy to drive on than others, so you have to go slower or whatever. And driving while tired is pretty dangerous. It has been compared to being similarly to driving while drunk in cognitive ability. So it is really important to not exhaust yourself to the point where if you are driving around on your own, that you might become a dangerous driver because you're too tired to really be able to focus. And this is just something that I, like I said, had to work on myself in regards to just pacing myself. And maybe, you get a decent amount of things done, and then the other things that you would love to see, you get a chance to come back to Iceland to experience. But cramming too many things in can kind of ruin the experience for some people because you're just overly exhausted, and it becomes more about just ticking something off a list rather than actually being in the place and enjoying it. The amazing part about Iceland is that there's so many places where you can just stand there by yourself, absorbing this beautiful nature and energy and just enjoying being in the moment there. So allow yourself time for that, because you'll definitely appreciate your trip in Iceland better, and you'll also just be more relaxed. And I mean, vacations, it's your choice, of course, but vacations, in my opinion, should be a healthy balance. So just take that with a big grain of salt too in regards to how you want to plan your trip, but be sure to check distances between places and understand that you probably won't get everything done in just 3 days, for instance. The fifth common mistake is a money saver, so definitely listen up to this. If you like to enjoy some beer or spirits, then you definitely don't want to buy alcohol in Iceland at full price. And it's not that it's normally discounted per se, but there are certain places in which you can get alcohol for a better deal. And one of them is at duty free. So when you're flying into the country, stocking up on alcohol that is normally maybe not as expensive where you live, but in Iceland is like exorbitantly expensive. Like, it's ridiculous that you can pay, you know, $80 to $100 for a bottle of some type of alcohol. And beer too ends up being quite expensive, even if it's made here in the country, because it is taxed pretty heavily. And the government has a monopoly on this. They're the ones that sell all of the alcohol, and meaning like if you have a strict alcohol store that only sells alcohol and beer, the government stores are the only ones allowed to do that. Of course, in restaurants and bars, you can go to get different types of alcohol, but the prices have been, you know, they're not cheap at all. Happy hour for some people is like, where is the actual discount? It went from being really expensive to not as expensive. $8 for a beer at happy hour is pretty common. Maybe now that the US dollar is stronger or the euro is stronger, you might find that it hurts a little bit less to pay that amount of money. But if you really want to save, making sure that you pick up your alcohol at duty free, so stock up there. A lot of people like to pregame before they go out, so they're not really having to buy a lot of drinks when they're out and around town, or they'll search for happy hours just so they don't have to buy alcohol at the, you know, initial price before it was reduced in order to get people to come in and drink the alcohol there. But if you find yourself in a jam, you can of course always go to Vinbúðin, which is the state-owned alcohol stores. But just be aware that the prices there are gonna be really high, and that's just the way it is in Iceland. One other thing to mention regarding this is at the supermarkets, you'll see a beer that's like a Pilsner, or at least it's labeled that, and the alcohol amount on that is super low. It's maybe like 2%, sometimes it's even less than that. And like I mentioned, it's because the government stores here in Iceland are the ones that are really allowed to sell alcohol and beer that has a higher level of percentage of alcohol in it. So you might be thinking, oh man, I found beer at the supermarket. Jules, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And then you're drinking it, and as you're drinking it, you're like, I mean, this is okay. And then you look at the bottle, you're like, oh, it's 1.5% alcohol or something. Like, it's not gonna do anything for you. If you're a person that doesn't really want to have alcohol and you like the taste of a beer or something, go for it. But if you are looking to get that buzz and kind of enjoying the high that comes from having some alcohol, then go to the right stores to get it. The sixth common mistake is fascinating because I don't think it's been advertised enough that it is not okay just to pet or feed livestock here in Iceland without the permission of the farmer. And it happens too often on Facebook or Instagram where you'll see a photo or video of people just like driving off the road because they see some horses and they get super excited and they're like, oh, I've got carrots in my bag, or oh, I just want to pet this horse. And they just go ahead and essentially let themselves, you know, go and pet these animals and feed the animals sometimes too. And farmers are not fans of this. They prefer for you not to do this, mainly because there is something you might give to the animal that could make it sick. Also, you're starting to get the animals in this habit of kind of like begging for food, and it just could get a little bit out of hand. And then petting the animals too, I mean, who knows? Most of the time, the horses in Iceland, to be fair, are very calm, but they are animals, and something could set them off that might make them a little agitated, and maybe something might happen. Is that a big possibility? Probably not. But it is better for you to get permission from the farmer before you just start interacting with their animals. Definitely never just hop over the gate, go on their property, any of that. Icelanders are super nice people, but even they have their limits in terms of what is considered okay. And don't try to cross those boundaries and potentially make it so that Icelanders start to regret or don't enjoy the fact that visitors are coming to their country. So just like an FYI in that, if you're seeing people do this in pictures, if they don't have permission, then it isn't okay. And there are places though, like a farmer for instance got fed up with this. And so he ended up creating a place where people can come and then they can be supervised with petting the horses or like trying to cuddle with a lamb or something, because we all know that we want to interact with these animals. It's not that that's a bad thing. It's just doing it appropriately and with permission. The seventh common mistake has to do with packing properly for Iceland. So just like I mentioned with the first one, not bringing an umbrella, there are specific layers that it works well for you to bring to Iceland in order for you to not only feel comfortable and warm, but to keep dry and to have options as you're going throughout the country and the weather changes within the day, usually quite a lot. So you can end up like encountering rain, wind, sun, calm, snow, just different types of conditions within the same day. So don't underestimate the power of the weather here, and also don't underestimate the power of layers. The first layer, it has to do with moisture wicking, so basically keeping you relatively dry. The second layer has to do with insulating you so that you keep warm, and the top layer is normally about protection, so from wind, rain, snow, those types of things. Having those layers allows for you to customize what you're wearing in order to accommodate how you're feeling at that particular time during the day. And in my free ultimate packing checklist, I go through not only those layers, but all the other essential things you need to pack for Iceland. And I've broken it up into checklists for winter and summer. So you're completely covered no matter which season you decide to come in Iceland, which is awesome. So definitely check that out in the description box below. I think you'll find it very useful, and share that with anybody that you think would find it useful. Along with making videos like this, I have a podcast called All Things Iceland, and I share about many different topics there, including updates about the pandemic, what life is like here in Iceland, interviews with expats and natives, and so much more. So I encourage you to check that out so that you can learn more about Iceland. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.